It's another episode of Cyscene podcast, and I have my very good friend Alexis Sunder with me today. I know it took me a long time to invite you, but I think it's the right time. So welcome, Alexis.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
And you've been very fresh on the music scene, although you've been a musician for many years. And I don't know if you aspired to be a musician at a younger age. I know you were playing football? Hockey,
yeah.
But
of 20 people, I think.
But none of that was what the path you chose. But in the last, is it 2.5 years?
It's 4 now, since 2020. Well, even before that, but in Cyprus at least it's
in
2020.
Cyprus, you kind of joined the scene like 2.5 years ago. And I would like to talk all about that story of how you came to be here. So do you wanna take it off?
Sure. I think I had a bit of a meandering path, also back to Cyprus, but then also in music. I did classical piano when I was younger, growing up here. Then took up guitar, was in a few bands, then did my military service. And as a very highly sensitive and confused young adult, I had several dilemmas on like what to do. And I had 2 or 3 indicators of passions. One was music, one was history, the other one was politics. So let's say I chose perhaps the most conventionally sensible thing would be to study history and politics, which is what I did in the UK. And then took some time off uni after finishing the first degree, started playing music again, and then for various reasons ended up in Brussels, where I combined the 2 passions of doing history and politics and then also doing music in parallel.
I admire the fact that you manage to combine the 2. I mean, okay, it's not easy, but you kind of make a point of combining the 2. You were doing it in Brussels and you're doing it now as well.
Yeah, I'm doing it now as well. I think the way I rationalize it, and I don't think it's only rationalization, it's actually quite true. The way I find it is there's creativity in both areas, obviously music, but also in the political sphere and, well, the history. So like I like writing, so I do a lot of speech writing, I do briefings and stuff like that. So it gives me an avenue of like expressing myself, of putting a little imprint of me, which is what I kind of feel is what I need. I've realized one of my needs is having a little piece of me outside in the world. And
you mean besides the music world?
I think in general, I think clearly the main channel for that is music, with the solo stuff, with Island Seas, with Eurotoire, like this whole, and the collaboration part of it, which I guess we'll talk about later. But yeah, I think that for me was the sense of like, okay, what are the ways that I can, one, be creative, and second, share that with the environment, the outside world. And so it is a delicate sort of, management situation. It's obviously, you also have to like kind of get over some sort of concepts, When I was younger, I kind of felt I can only be one thing, I need to be Alexis Sunder, the musician, or Alexis Sunder, the student, whatever.
Why is that though?
I don't know. I think it comes from my shyness and sensitivity when I was younger, of like trying to sort of figure out where I fit in. And my process of doing that was, okay, blueprints. All right, so if you're interested in, I don't know, politics, then you should be doing A, B, C, D, E, F, G, checklist,
Yeah.
And that doesn't really work. But I had to figure out the long way round. I kind of had to
It doesn't work for you to feel okay with yourself, you mean?
Well, if you have a checklist, then there's one premise, which is that everyone is uniform within this sort of category, and they're not. And second is, well, if you're not fulfilling all of the criteria, then do you actually belong or not? And I've realized that that's not how it works.
Basically, what you're saying is like each one of us has their own
Yeah.
journey, and we can look at other people's situation, at other people's lives, and we can compare, or we can, but it's never going to be the same, right?
Yeah.
So we need to kind of figure out this niche specific thing that our life is, and and also from within, like see how do we feel, how am I going to feel complete?
Yeah.
Is it having the politics and the music and maybe the family and all this bind together?
Yeah.
Maybe that's what it is, and that's what fulfills you, right?
Exactly. I think it's finding a way of like listening to your own narrative and your own story, and being okay with your own narrative and your own story.
Exactly.
Which means, for example, I am Alexis Sunder, the creative.
Mm-hmm.
That's how I see it. And then that gets externalized in different ways, depending on, the situation.
Okay, so let's go back to the reason, not the reason that brought you back. Obviously, it was COVID that brought you back, but the reason that you kind of moved away from your previous job and into music.
Yeah.
And how did that work within you? Not necessarily like the practical stuff, but how did that change occur?
Yeah. Well, I was going through this. At the time, I labeled it, this is not soul searching, but it actually ended up being soul searching. But it was essentially deconstructing this sort of blueprint myth that I had convinced myself existed, and then sort of listening to my needs. And working in that sort of different sphere means you work a lot and you work on beautiful things and with amazing people, but you always kind of work for something bigger and for someone else, And there's a beauty in that, and I think we all kind of need it, working for something, a bigger cause than us.
Mm-hmm.
But
Which was that? Can you tell us?
Yeah, I was working on humanitarian aid in Brussels,
Mm-hmm.
On the political sphere. I was an assistant to. I was in the political team, let's say.
So big projects.
Yeah, big projects. Engagement with different countries and different organizations, and speech writing and missions. Missions, they're a weird term for that, but trips to developed and developing countries, which was exhilarating. But I kind of lost myself or my needs into that. And the guiding sensation, I think, which was the tipping point, was, I needed something that was me outside in the world. And
you mean an output?
Yeah, I needed an output for me. And I was in a band. We were, recording. We were playing live, stuff like that. But I kind of felt I needed something that's truly mine.
Yeah.
And so that was the focus then. How do I do that? All right, music. I want to do that. I want to fully immerse in that for a while, and test myself again. How do I feel? How do I interact with people around? And so that's what happened. I mean, obviously, life takes its own twists and turns, and COVID happened, and plans had to be shifted. But I was committed in making that validating that decision, and that's what I've been doing.
So is that when Eurotoire came and
Eurotoire essentially saved the day, I have to say, because Eurotoire happened. I think was it 21? No.
Yeah. Because what I saw happening there, I didn't know you at all, although I knew of you from different people, but I didn't actually connect the dots up to much later. But what I saw was, you came in, you already had these almost finished EP. That was the reason that we sort of picked you, because the music was beautiful. And then you came in and kind of really flourished into this amazing, capable collaborator of songwriting. Yeah. I think you ended up being in most of the songs, like more songs than anyone else. Yeah. Which I found fascinating. And then the fact that kind of gave you all this energy to, a few months after this finished, you were like, okay, I'm going to go with music. And you actually did that for pretty like a year or something.
Yeah, until recently.
Until recently, you were just like focusing on your music, which I found very, very inspiring. But now you're in a stage where you're like, okay, I also need to do another job, and I respect that. I mean, we need to, kind of be realistic and see, okay, what can I do? How much money can I make from this? How much money can I make from that? How can I balance things? So how do you see things now?
Well, I won't lie, it's a challenge, balancing everything. I mean, just to go back to Eurotoire for a second, I think that was really the experience that sort of validated my belief that, okay, I can actually do this.
Yes.
And it touched on several things where I felt more confidence in doing things. Like the collaboration really helped me realize that, okay, I can do this. I can connect with people on a personal and creative level, and we can make something beautiful. And I think I was on 7 out of the 15 songs as a songwriter. So I worked with almost everyone. I think the only person I haven't worked with was Nama. So
I still have a chance.
I still have a chance, yeah. So I worked with everyone else, and I think I was conscious of that, starting, entering the project. Like, okay, I'm going to try and work with as many people as I can.
Oh, so you had that in mind.
It was in the back of my head of like, okay, first of all, do I fit in? And that, that first week, I was like, okay, I'm fitting in. The second session, it was like, okay, can we finalize songs? Can we like do something really beautiful? And it's like, yes.
Yeah, and in the end, you ended up being like this kind of coordinator of things as well in many situations.
Oh, well, I don't know about that.
Well, yes. I mean, not necessarily about the songs, but also in situations that had to do like driving the van.
Yeah, okay.
I mean, things like that. So it to me it looked like, okay, this guy's like really, making use of his skills here, and like being like a real, team player, and like, helping out, and like, and I really loved that, like seeing you like unfold, like your character unfolding in this manner during the project. And and it felt like really natural progression to follow music to me. But I'm gonna go back to what you said about validating, because I think that's the important thing, and that's the thing we all need, especially in Cyprus. It's like, and that's the beauty of these programs. It's like you get to a place if you get selected, and you get to a place, and then right away it feels like what you're doing is valid, meaning, you might as well be a professional producer, you might as well be a professional songwriter, you might as well be a professional performer, since you're here with these other people that are also that. Maybe for other people in the program might not have been so important, but I think for a lot of us, it's very important to feel that validation of, oh, somebody's actually asking me to write a song, and they're going to release it on an album. I mean, how amazing is that? Whereas another angle of that would be you in your room trying to figure out, is this a song? Is this a chorus, or is this a bridge? Without having any sort of input from anyone else. And then all of a sudden you're in this, 2 people, 3 people groups where everyone is like brainstorming, and what happened was in 2-3 hours, people were coming out of the rooms. Okay, we have this song. How magical is that?
I mean, that's the thing. For me, I consider myself a team player. That's where I feel more at ease. My internal frequency is there. And so connection and common creativity is fundamental, I mean, a healthier person would probably have their own internal system of validation. And I think, we all work towards that, but I think you always need, even the healthiest person kind of needs an external input, whether it's validation or trigger or just a connection. I think for Eurotoire, for example, the thing that stays with me mostly was that we managed to connect on various levels, because you can't create a song if you're, okay, what chord are you playing? Yeah, okay, we can do that. It's a 2-5-1. Yeah, okay, cool. You know, that it doesn't work that way, you know? It doesn't work that way. And especially if you're writing lyrics and you're trying to write something that relates first to you, then to the other person you're writing it with, and then hopefully with the audience. So the connecting on various levels, but it's like connecting on a personal level to the degree that you're comfortable is fundamental. And it stayed with me because we're still in contact with the Eurotoire people, you know? And there were several collaborations that spun off after that. And so, it's
I mean, to write lyrics with somebody else really means you need to tune in on the subject and on the story you're trying to unfold in a song. Yeah. And that's a beautiful thing. Like, obviously, it's very, you can say it's hard. I mean, if it's not tuned in, obviously, going to be saying different things are not going to fit. Yeah. But, I mean, having in mind the songs that were written on that program and on the record, everyone, I mean, you can't tell that 3 people or 4 people wrote these lyrics or 2 people wrote these lyrics. Yeah. Because they're like flawless, you know, they just, you know.
It's a seamless sort of
stream. They melt into each other, the lines, and everything is amazing. And all of them have something to say. It's not like there are these random lyrics that you know, stuck together or something.
No, there's no real fluff on that Eurotoire album, I think. Yeah. Lyrics-wise, at least.
And then you're continuing that straight away with Island Seeds. Again, co-writing and doing the same sort of drill.
Yeah. I think, you know, once you find something that works, you kind of want to replicate it, you know? And I enjoy the collaboration. I enjoy the bouncing of ideas and the connections. And I mean, they're all amazing musicians. My brothers and sisters, Seeds brothers and sisters. And it's truly magical. Whenever we're on stage, there's this magic, you know, that happens. Yeah. Of the energy between us. I don't know how it translates outside, but from the audience, it does. But from the inside, on stage, there's a really beautiful energy and warmth, you know, that carries from like the writing of the songs to rehearsing to playing it live and recording it. I mean, it's truly magical. So when you find that kind of thing, you kind of want to, you know, grab hold of it.
Well, I mean, you say the word find, but I mean, how did it get there? It's not like you just dropped in somewhere and found it. Obviously, there's something that's been created there. Yeah. And you know, I mean, I want to ask you how do you think this evolved to this level of being so like in tune with each other? It's only been like 2 years, right?
Yeah. I think, well, it's obviously important to mention that there are some common elements in both Eurotoire and Island Seeds, and that's you, Lefteris.
Oh, right. Okay.
In the sense that I think, you know, first of all, the selection of people makes a massive difference. And it's actually, if you look at it in all lines of work, choosing the right people for things is enormous. Yeah. It's super important. And it doesn't necessarily have to do with skills. It has to do with like character and dynamics. And each team needs different profiles of people to operate healthily, you know? Yeah. So, and both in Eurotoire and Island Seeds, so far, it's worked, you know, in that way. And I think a big part of that is the selection of people.
Thank you. I didn't ask that to get...
I know, don't worry, but I felt I kind of had to, you know, it's a marker that needs to be there, you know. Okay. So apart from that, I think then it's also, you know, the connections, the putting time in to discover the other person, you know. I'm in a bicommunal band, and to be honest, before Island Seeds, my interaction with the Turkish Cypriot community, and especially Turkish Cypriot musicians, was very limited, you know. Yeah. And so it's also been a journey for me of growth, to be honest, without being too, you know, reevaluating things, seeing how I feel inside, connecting, and stripping away the labels and the blueprints, you know. That's become a consistent process now for me.
Yeah, my experience was that for a year before, like the United by Sound program in Island Seeds and all that, my experience was like it was really hard to tune in to people, like literally tune into frequency from the other side. And then slowly, and this was through music as well, like, you know, curating gigs and stuff, like at Home for Corporation, all that. But then I think, it took years to actually feel that, okay, these people can be my friends gradually. These people are my friends.
Yeah.
You know, we can communicate like completely without, like, besides the language, of course, but without having to feel like, but we're different somehow. No, it just, I mean, after all these years, for me, it's just like all that stuff has melted away.
Yeah.
And obviously a huge part of this is the music and how it kind of washes a lot of that, I don't know, residue away and just clears the space for communication and collaboration and creation.
Yeah.
So, I think that's what it is. And what does it mean to you, and where do you see that going in the future? You think about that?
Well, we talk about it quite a bit in the band. I mean, we released the album in December 23, so, you know, several months ago. So we're already in the process of writing new stuff. We've got a few gigs happening. So we're trying to keep busy and keep the contact going, because bear in mind, it's actually quite challenging to get 7 people from the two communities to.
We almost didn't do the first workshops because of this.
Yeah, it was. Yeah,
it almost fell apart.
Yeah,
but I mean, I respect that, and I can't expect too much from a band with 7 people in Cyprus, where some people have day jobs, and it's okay, you know, you can't pressure it too much, but it's good to try and do as much as possible.
Yeah, but I think it's also important, and it's also a mindset thing. I'm like, I don't want to look at the problems. You know, I kind of want to say, okay, I don't want to find opportunities for an excuse of not doing things, because if you want to, you can find an excuse for not doing anything. Yeah. So I'm focusing on the positive things. There's a determination and a big desire from everyone to keep doing this, taking it at a higher level, playing more in Cyprus, possibly playing outside, you know, and continuing the journey. So that's for me, that's the most important thing, you know.
And I think you have a lot of fans, and I think you have a lot of people that really resonate with you and look up to you in a way because of this band that kind of, you know, after 2 years, there's not many bands that, you know, stay together, keep writing, keep doing gigs, and, you know, believe in what they do in Cyprus. I mean, that's the truth. You know, doing original music is not easy. And then that takes me to your stuff, which is the Alexis Sunder stuff. And where are you at with that? I mean, I wanted to ask you, is like Fengaros the peak of one's career in Cyprus? Because you've done this amazing show 2 years ago. Yeah. And you had this, what was it, 8-9-piece band with horns and backing singers and stuff. Backing singers and that. So went full out. You really smashed the main stage. Yeah. And I admit I was afraid of that. Do you remember?
I remember like, you told me
about this?
Are you sure about this?
Yeah, because usually when, you know, people hear Fengaros and they want to just go wild and big and like bring all the people they know to play on stage, and then it just breaks the energy of the band. Yeah. But you managed to keep it together and actually do a good show. Yeah. So I don't know. I mean, was that like the peak, and then? But I mean, you kept it going, so I really admire that.
I mean, obviously, Fengaros, you know, biggest festival in Cyprus, main stage. I think it's like 9 or 11 people on stage, horn section, backing vocalists. You know, the lot. Yeah. It's obviously a highlight. You know, and I was quite worried afterwards of like, how do I
follow up?
Yeah, how do I follow that? And the trick was essentially to just understand that not everything is under my control. So a bit let it go. I have a group of wonderful musicians that we play live with. Nondas, Klagis, Babas, and Pavlos Daniel. And they've also, you know, transformed these songs. Like they've become their own songs in their own vibe that they put it in. So I kind of felt the need at that moment to sort of follow that and see how it goes. So it's become a bit more raw. It's become a little bit more energetic, and I think that's where I'm at live now. In the songwriting process, which I'm doing and finalizing new stuff, it's still not there in that vibe. I think it's probably more connected to, the first record.
Do you think that is because the lack of motivation of, let's say, the scene or the industry, or would you say that might be like the fact that we're not like really rushing to release a record, we're not rushing to write new things? I mean, from one side there's the do I need to write a song today? Do I need to write a song? Do I have, like, am I looking forward to something in that area of my life? Or
I mean, I'm gonna bounce a question back to you with that, in the sense that, I mean, the way I see the Cyprus scene now is, okay, you've got a handful, maybe, a dozen sort of acts or creatives that are doing their own thing. But I find that at least in the live scene, it's mostly, that doesn't really translate,
Yeah.
So there's a disconnect between what's happening live and what's happening on a record or the creative scene,
Yeah.
And I think that sort of creates an inertia. Maybe that's the right word, in the sense that, I didn't, like, personally, I don't really feel the pressure to release. And that's a problem,
Yeah. On the other hand, though, we see like a lot of younger people who are into Spotify and all that, and they're really into what's going on here. Like, they're really into their local artists.
Yeah.
And they grew up with these artists more or less being around.
Sure.
Like, actually having an idea of a scene.
Yeah.
If you see them on Spotify, and if there's a playlist with the Cypriot acts, that means these people are around.
Yeah.
As opposed to, let's say, when we were growing up, there obviously was no Spotify, but there was also not a scene that we, maybe there was a couple of tapes or a CD or something like that.
Yeah.
But what I'm trying to say, I guess, it's in the young people's perception. This exists.
Yeah.
So even if you, let's say, were, I don't know what my point is now, I'm just like taking this stream of thought.
It's okay.
If you were deciding to release a song every month, or like you did like last year with your singles and stuff, there would be like kind of an audience in a way.
Yeah, and I think that's the lesson from all of this, is that you might be operating in Cyprus, but you're also operating from Cyprus. So the local scene, of course, can frame things in a way, but it's exactly what you're saying. The scene is actually also on the streaming platforms, on YouTube and stuff like that. So you need to like keep feeling, let's say, the need to do things also with that in mind. You're operating in a grander, much bigger arena now. And you kind of need the local scene because it's the fertile ground to sort of start things and
test things
and also connect with people. I think that's one of the things I understand looking at other music scene, is that you need a community around you. People's they say this cliche that you need a whole village to raise a kid, and it's the same thing for like creatives. You need a community around you, and Fengaros is doing that. And that's why I'm eternally grateful also for the music village and the festival and stuff like that, because regardless of genres, there's a community there that's linked to Fengaros, and that's super important. And every time I go to the music village, I also feel inspired, but also the pressure to write, because I'm seeing other people doing it. I'm seeing Mesimeris, having live gigs and writing albums, and then I'm seeing Anemurio doing this stuff, and then I'm seeing all the other artists. So like, you feel it's there, that you feel okay, I need to up my game.
In a way, yeah, exactly. In a way, you're putting yourself in that situation, going to Music Village, in order to get like what's the word? Well, to get into that to put yourself in that position of, okay, now I need to up my game. Now I need to write more songs.
Yeah.
But also what we said about Eurotoire before, you're putting yourself in a space where somebody is asking you to write something by tomorrow morning, for example.
Yeah.
And you're like, okay, I'm doing this thing. I'm good at doing this thing. I can do this thing. I love doing this thing. Other people are asking me to do this thing. Other people around me are doing this thing. And we're all doing this, we're all being creative here. And that kind of, it's like, it's putting like new, what do you call it? In the pot, you just, you're taking care of your little plant there.
Soil. Yeah.
So.
But how do you see the development of the Cyprus scene? Because you've been operating here for a while, before that was Snake Charmer, and then you were away, and then you came back, and you're doing all these things also with Louvana, Fengaros, but also Freedom Candle Maker.
So now you're asking me a question.
I'm asking you a question because why not? I'm taking control of the show.
Well, I'm very. I think I always say this. I'm very optimistic about it, because the most important thing is not that it exists and it's getting bigger, but it's just healthier.
Yeah.
And that's the beautiful thing I see. And that's the thing I love about it. And that's the main reason I think it's going well and it's gonna grow more, is because it's healthy. And when I say healthy, I mean it's because there's mutual appreciation and solidarity between the artists. Like you said before, regardless of genres, it's like one is supporting the other. Maybe it doesn't seem like such a big thing, but when I was growing up, it was exactly the opposite. It was totally toxic. Everyone was so insecure because the scene was so small, and everyone was talking behind other people's backs, and everyone wanted to be the best, but they were trying too hard in the wrong ways, and it was just a mess.
Yeah.
But now, from the resources that we have, I think it's going wonderfully well.
Yeah.
And the fact that people are recording all the time and they're trying. Obviously, our biggest problem, I think, is like not having any venues.
Yeah. Definitely.
And not having people who are willing to have venues that support the original music scene, and to take these risks, which maybe seem like risks, but let's say you have a venue that's a hub of all the new original music of Cyprus, then I'm sure that is not going to be a failure. I mean, it might need a few years to take off, but then you're gonna, I think it's gonna be a success. But I think that's our main problem.
Yeah.
To not have somewhere to house this big wave of creativity.
Yeah. And I think once you have a hub, things tend to gravitate around it,
Exactly.
So, yeah.
And also to feel that, again, to get that validation, the validation for the artists, to feel like, okay, if I want to present my album, I'm going to go to this place, and then that place has its crowd, and I have my crowd, and then it's going to, it's going to be good, It's going to feel good for everyone. And then also the audience feels good because, hey, I have these role models, let's say, these artists that I admire, and then it just grows because the younger people are going to see the older people doing the music, and then but I mean, okay, it is romantic, and obviously you probably going to need to have another job on the side, hopefully with something that has to do with music or art or anything, but maybe not necessarily. But we can dream.
We can dream.
Yeah.
Okay. Fair enough.
So did that answer the question?
Sure. Yeah. It was enough.
Okay. So so you're gonna play at Fengaros this year?
Apparently, yeah.
Yeah. What are you preparing for that? How are you seeing that? Or you haven't even?
No, I've been working on it. I'll be presenting some new stuff, unreleased stuff, following a bit the vibe of the live set, which is a bit more jammy, a bit more raw, a bit more funk in it rather than the soul element.
Is it going to be a massive band again?
No, I'm keeping it small and tight. Just because you need to do something different.
Yeah.
There's no point trying to compete with what I did 2 years ago. I just have to do something different.
Competing with yourself.
Competing with myself, but that's the thing.
Yeah.
And I was also like, I was worried about when I was applying for Fengaros. Of like, okay, I'll do Fengaros again. What should I be doing?
Yeah. I think. Okay, I'll ask you this: is that because when you were doing this, when you were doing the application, let's say at the time, you were kind of not in the zone of making music, so you were kind of a little bit of a lost kind of period there.
I mean, okay, full disclosure, I have a 1-year-old son, which means I don't sleep that much.
Yeah.
And so, priorities sort of shifted for a while, and the juggling the balls was focused on other things. So I think I wasn't feeling as secure or confident about doing Fengaros again.
Yeah. About your act.
About my act, about me essentially. About me. But I'm over that.
Cool.
I'm ready, and it's gonna be good. Yeah, I'm gonna have fun. Our live sets are usually quite dancey, and people are having fun and jumping up and down. And I think that's the target.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Beautiful. Well, because you are this person that juggles music with a proper job.
Proper job. Music's a proper job,
No, I mean that's in quotation marks,
okay,
because
right.
we're still, our profession is still not registered as a proper profession. So that's kind of
I get it.
the reason I'm throwing it like that. How do you see the future for you? Like, what do you dream about, and what are you hopeful about?
Well, I think I have a need to be and stay creative. So, now that I've done the shift to music, that stays a big part of me. So the target is, or the idea is, to continue doing that as the main priority. I guess, as different phases in life require different sort of prioritization strategies. But I mean, the idea is that, that very much becomes the main thing. So, I'm releasing some new stuff.
Do you think it can become the main thing if you don't put more into it?
No, but that's exactly the thing. It's like you were saying, it's a plant. You have to like water it and give it love and sunshine and time. And so I'm very conscious that for that to happen, you kind of have to already shift and build on that.
Yeah.
So that's the idea. I mean, that's the current challenge, is finding the way of focusing on that and building on that.
And what's the intention? I mean, why don't you think we write? Like, what do you want to cause, let's say, with your music? I mean, if you think, because we don't think about it that much, but if you just step back and say, okay, what do I want to achieve with this, besides people liking it, or people liking me, or people having a little dance, or
Yeah, it's quite interesting, because I think in any other line of work, you have a very specific, you have to like create all these very specific strategies of like, okay, what are you trying to achieve, by which time, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And there's an element of that creeping in with the social media strategies and promotion. But
for music.
Yeah, for music. But when I sit to write, I don't think, okay, what am I trying to cause in the other person's brain or heart? I think for me, the stimulus is, okay, I'm trying to understand what's happening, either around me or inside of me. So there's a need to understand.
Yeah.
And then once you have a need to understand and you investigate, you have a need to communicate.
Exactly.
And once you have a need to communicate, then you have a need to connect. So it's this process of self-awareness, finding the right language, vocabulary, musical and otherwise, to communicate, and then connecting.
Okay, so it's a personal thing. It's a personal need. We feel the need to communicate something.
Yeah.
And then the question behind that is like, does the world need another singer-songwriter? You know.
Yeah, but I mean, I'm not sitting down writing, how sad my day was. I think that's not the intention.
I don't mean singer-songwriter in the sense that it's going to be sad.
I know.
I'm just saying, is there space for us?
Yeah, definitely. I mean,
it's just a question that you might, it might pop up when you're doing this. That's what I'm saying. Like that makes you insecure.
Yeah. I've learned to not mull too much on like questions like that,
right?
Because I find that sort of destabilizes me, and then I kind of get stuck in a rut. So what I do is I have a belief that creatives are one of the most important. They can provide one of the most important services in life. That's why we've had musicians and creatives and singers throughout history. It's a means of communicating. It's the communication of the soul, without
You're
sounding
like the speaker
too cheesy.
For, let's say.
Yeah, I think there's feelings and sentiments and worries and things that are floating all around. There are energies that, and then it's just a matter of some people can tap into that and voicing it.
Yeah.
And I think I keep going back to reminding myself when I was trying to understand things as a younger age, and like you just hear a song which either musically or lyrically just clicks with you, and you feel heard and understood and seen. And that is super important.
So is that you use that as your reminder?
That's my reminder.
That's beautiful.
Of my sensation of feeling comforted by someone else has gone through this, whatever it is. It could be as trivial as, missing the bus to, something much more serious. But all these things are like little pieces of a collage that sort of is humanity.
I think what we're saying then with what you just described is basically, it's not just about the release. It's not just about the thing being out there. It's also about the creation of it and the energy that goes into the creation of it. And even if it's never heard, even if it's nobody hears it, there's still some kind of energy that is being created or being used in a certain way. So yeah, I'll keep that. I mean, basically what I was trying to do is like to question as much as possible, like, do we need to do this? But in the end, you phrased it very, very eloquently that, I agree with you.
Thank you.
Alexi, I think, this was it.
I
think we said enough. We said a lot, not enough. There's always a lot to say, but thank you for sharing this with me.
Thank you for having me.
And I'll see you at Fengaros.
See you at Fengaros. Cheers.